بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. The book of Maqasid al-Sharia, the chapter is chapter 17, page 146, Equality in the Sharia. That's what the chapter that we started last time. And the author went to talk about the equality as is a part of the Islamic Sharia. As we said, is a part of the Islamic Sharia as we're going to study, inshallah ta'ala. And he's saying what are the elements or the aspect that prevent the equality that he called here in page 148, impediment to equality. And this impediment, actually, they are not negative thing. Actually, they might be required to fulfill a maslaha, to fulfill a good and action and a benefit for the society and for the Muslim. So here that reminding you in the part that we did last time, قال المساواة في التشريع أصل لا يتخلف إلا عند وجود مانع. We need to understand that equality in the Sharia, in the Islamic jurisprudence, in the Islamic way, it is embedded into as a principle of action, as the spirit of behaving and conducting and judging and dealing. So in the Sharia, there's no such a question to ask what are the evidence of the equality in the Islamic faith or Islamic jurisprudence. Why? Because the equality is a principle, is one of the foundation of the Sharia. And as we said, everything arises from the inner nature. So there is no difference between, people with different color or different language, except with the taqwa, with the piety and righteousness, as the Prophet ﷺ said, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. Now, when you have the equality as a principle, as a foundation, as a core, as one of the parts embedded in the way of Islam, therefore, it doesn't exist. And I mentioned the example of the Prophet ﷺ when one of the companions was mocking or he said something ill saying to his brother and, insulting him by the color of his mother. So the Prophet ﷺ, what he told him, قال إنك امرئ فيه جاهلية. You are a man who still have jahiliyyah in him. Which is mean that someone who dare and cross the line and does such a thing, his part that he said it is not Islam, because in the true Islamic faith and jurisprudence and ahkam, it doesn't exist such a thing. But this equality, therefore, as a principle, as he's saying, قال فالمساواة في التشريع أصل لا يتخلف إلا عند وجود مانع. فلا يحتاج إثبات. It doesn't require to be proven or to be given as evidence, because part is obvious. Now, when the equality is not possible to implement, is because there's something that prevented. That's what he called in the book impediment. But this impediment or this aspect to prevent to fulfill the equality actually is good, and we're going to explain it, because not everything needs to be equal. So the equality in the foundation, in the equality in the right, in the rights, in the dues, in the duties. So when you say, for example, in everything that is necessities, everyone is equal. Everyone has the right to be free. Everyone has the right to, to have a family. Everyone to have to respect it, to be dignified, to own, to sell, to buy, all of that. The right to have freedom of faith, protecting of thinking, all of that. Okay. Everything within when we're talking about the way of the Sharia. Everyone has the right there. قال موانع المساواة. موانع المساواة. What are the actions that prevent the مساواة? قال هي عوار التي إذا تحققت تقتضي إلغاء حكم المساواة لظهور مصلحة راجحة في ذلك الإلغاء. We might have conditions, circumstances that require from us to not implement the principle of the equality. Why? Because if we implement the principle of equality, it's going to cause harm to the society, it's going to cause harm to the individual, it's going to lead to unfairness and injustice. Therefore, when you say equality, is not like with blindness, the equality that first respond to respect everyone's rights, but the equality also that lead to goodness and to justice and fairness, as we're going to see. قال أو لظهور مفسدة عند إجراء المساواة. You might, when you implement the equality, you might lead or result into mischief, into violation. These circumstances, condition might be مؤقتة, temporary. It might be long. It might be actually a principle that we need to implement all the time. I'll give you an example, very example, before I go further to say, like, how can I talk about the equality that should not be implemented. The equality between an ignorant and a person with knowledge. If we'll do it, implement it, then the equality here is going to lead to mischief. Equality between his study and become expert in, for example, in the field of the medicine. You cannot make him equal for the one who doesn't know anything. So someone, when he present, for example, his application for an interview or for a job that requires certain expertise, someone who didn't study, he didn't say he should not complain or sue the people, say they didn't implement equality, they should keep me equal with this person. Say, this person, he spent his life studying, how can you make you equal to him? I'm talking about things that are obvious. This is what the author, he wants to tell us. Okay? So when we say the implementation of the equality, when it leads to a mischief or to anything that will gonna be causing harm, then this equality, the principle here, we don't use it. But as a principle, as equality is arise from the Sharia itself. That's what he's saying. قال ويكون الصلاح في ذلك أو يكون جاهل. أي عند تلك العوارض فسادا راجحا أو خالصا. So at these certain circumstances, as a certain condition, if the implementation of the equality leads to mafsada, as he's saying here, then it should not be implemented. As you can read it in the impediment, as you know. So I will personally, I'm reading from, I'm just pointing in which pages we'll be reading or which chapter, and then you'll find what I'm reading, because the Arabic is, the origin book is in Arabic, and then reading from the Arabic help to give you more subtle and reliable explanation, because some of the words that they're using might not be fitting exactly the what we study, and it might be different words to say it easier than the book. Now, طيب. قال وليس المراد من تسميتها بالعوارض أنها أمور عارضة مؤقت. When you say عوارض here, it doesn't mean like they are temporary. It might be long. It might be like something that we need to implement all the time. He called them incident here. But when you call our circumstances, incident, condition, when we're going to use it, it's like we're going to not implement or to stop one of the principles of the Sharia, which is the equality. Okay? And this is to see, later on we're going to study that the Sharia, it doesn't, implement things based on the name. When you say equality, so blindly, you have to implement equality. Say the equality in rights, the equality that leads to goodness, fairness, justice, that's the equality. So sometimes you do equality is going to oppose to all these virtues that everyone is looking forward to have. واضح? We're gonna give example, mashallah. طيب. قال مثلا قال فالفضائل مثلا تمنع مساواة الفاضل للمفضول في الجزاء والمنح. Some of the bounty, some of the grant. You cannot make, for example, equality in granting someone who is better than the other one. He's better in effort, he's better in expertise, he's better in quality that he's presenting. So this is, the equality cannot be, so someone, for example, people that work at the end of the year, they're gonna get bonus. So the bonus should be, people want someone get higher bonus than the other one because there's a reason. Because he worked more, he give more hours, etc., etc. So they say the equality here will be not just, not fair. واضح? So the Sharia doesn't follow the equality as a name, but what it has as impact. قال فالفضائل مثلا تمنع مساواة الفاضل للمفضول في الجزاء والمنح. The bounties here, or the grant, or the reward, will prevent the to implement the equality in this case, because if you implement it, then you're going to cause injustice. For example, also he given another قال فمعرفة مساواة العالم بعلم ما لمن ليس بعالم به في آثار ذلك العلم ترجع إلى المعنى. So this is have things that goes to the meaning. We cannot make the equality between, as I mentioned, a scholar and someone who's ignorant. قال معرفة عدم مساواة غير المسلمين من أهل ذمة الإسلام للمسلمين في بعض الحقوق. You come in some rights or some, element into the society that there's, for example, in a Muslim society, in a Muslim or a society governed by the Muslim way of life, you'll find in certain cases there will not be equality between the Muslim and the non-Muslims. As the equality is based and fundamental here, so here depends on the field that we're talking about. So the Prophet ﷺ قال لهم ما لنا وعليهم ما علينا. They have what, they have the rights that we do have, and they have, responsibility and duties the same that we have in the society. But there are things require that this equality could not implemented in certain cases, because if you implement them, it's going to have negative impact on certain things. Like example, he's saying قال الحقوق مثل ولاية المناصب الدينية ترجع إلى المعنى. For example, you have a position into the government. A position require integrity and knowledge of the deen. You cannot put someone non-Muslim in that position. واضح? Because the non-Muslim, he will not have the knowledge and he will not have the care about whatever related to the faith. So he cannot have that position. So here the equality, for example, we say equality in this position for everyone subject into the society or citizen, will not be healthy for the society or beneficial. قال فيكون اختلال اعتقاد غير المسلم موجبا انحطاطه في نظر الشريعة عن الكفاءة. So because كفاءة, it means like the qualification. The qualification for that position requires someone who has the faith. If someone who is not following that faith, therefore he cannot be qualified. So here the equality cannot be implemented. قال ولذلك اتفق العلماء على منع ولاية غير المسلم في كثير من الولايات. There is many of the responsibilities that concern the leading of the Muslim in a Muslim society that the non-Muslim will not be qualified for it. And they have difference of opinion when it comes to accounting, it comes to recording things. That's, some of the scholars say there's no objection if he's not Muslim, because this is nothing have to do with Baydatul Islam or with the core of the Islamic way. You find in something, in certain contracts, this goes back to the law of the Sharia and going back to the evidence of the Sharia. But the Prophet ﷺ, as he's saying, we are equal and they have the same rights and upon them the same duties. That is for the Prophet ﷺ to protect and to confirm the foundation of the equality, that everyone is equal. But when it comes to certain contracts, to certain relationship, to certain qualifications required, therefore the equality will be causing, mafsada, harm, and then causing what the equality should be causing as goodness. You can see it in page 149, what I was saying. طيب. قال ثم إن he mentioned here also وإنما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قول ذلك تنبيها على أن ذلك الأصل مقرر ثابت. So the asl of the equality is it is embedded into the Islamic faith. So if there is no equality, it's because of a reason. And the equality that we mentioned of a qualification, of position, a certain contract, and this is covered by the jurisprudence, rules and laws. قال ومن موانع المساواة ما ليس في الحقيقة بمانع ولكنه حال. Sometimes there is no real condition or circumstances or reason, let's say a reason that can someone you can have an evidence for it, or an impact when you do the equality is going to lead to a defect, or going to lead to harm, or going to lead mischief. He's saying the example there is hal, status. There's situation that you cannot make equality. He mentioned the example, we cannot make the equality of any believer who didn't live the time of the Prophet with the companion. Why? Because everyone who lived after the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he missed a fact that is out of his control and is out of someone's ability to relive such favor, if we can say, and it is a favor. قال فضيلة أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I mean, the preference, what they have the companion above any other believer, that no one can, match, which is seeing the light of the Prophet ﷺ and to believe in him in his life. No one can do that. So we cannot apply such equality, is impossible. Why? Because you have to relive the same condition that the companion they lived, so we can talk about equality between us and them. So this is a fact. So we cannot hear the equality. What prevents the equality is a fact, is a reality. Then he mentioned the prevention, or the element that prevent equality can be, as he's saying, قال جبلية وشرعية واجتماعية وسياسية. So these circumstances or conditions that might prevent the equality can be things from the inner nature, can be from laws, jurisprudence laws, can be from social, and can be political reason, for political reason. And all of them, when they prevent the implementation of the equality, is for a good thing, not to be unjust to the equality. Actually, implementing the equality at that time or in certain condition is going to lead to harm. واضح؟ الموانع الجبلية. I think in page 150. The last paragraph. قال there is natural one, legal one, social consideration relate to moral conduct, the respect of other rights, and the orderly and ethnical management of the affairs, etc., of the Muslim community. Then he said permanent natural obstacle in the last paragraph of page 150 of equality include the inequality of men and women in certain areas. So this comes back to the natural disposition. Based on the way how the man was created and the woman, the structure of the women, and the man, their ability. So ahkam comes, so you cannot make equality will not be let's say leading to the right result needed for the society. قال example here قال إمارة الجيش والخلافة عند جميع العلماء. Some example of some commanding an army or to be a khalifa. This is related to the asl al-khalq. The ability of man here is not like the ability of a woman. So in the common normal case, it will not be able for the woman to be a commander of army and leading wars and everything. Is not from her nature. So that's why the scholars say this is here, if we implement equality, it's like it's kind of you hurting and transgressing the right of the woman. The same, for example, he said قال ومثل القضاء في قول جمهور العلماء وكمنع مساواة الرجل المرأة في حق الكفالة. When it comes, for example, to the custody and taking care of the young children, cannot make the equality here, because the mother, he the one who has that ability, natural ability to take care of the kids. So the hadana will be given to her. You cannot make equality here. Also, we cannot make equality in providing for the family, because it's known as a custom, and from the nature of the structure of the man, he's the one who's really work and face difficulties to provide for the family. So we cannot make like equality to have the woman being also responsible as equal as the man in providing the family. So this is jibiliyya. This is some of the example that are from the natural disposition. Also from the jibili, from the natural disposition, there are ability that someone can develop. For example, knowledge. Everyone can be a knowledgeable person if he put the effort and study. So the one who studied and he had, reached the level of ijtihad, for example, of making ahkam and being mujtahid, not like the one who didn't study it and he want to give fatwa, for example. So this is here, you cannot make equality. Like some people, they said, hum rijalun wa nahnu rijal. That's not right. I mean, say, oh, they were men and we are men too. It's not a question about, the gender, a question about how much effort did you do and did you put to become person of knowledge. That's why he's saying here in this paragraph 151, in the second paragraph, there are also certain acquired qualities that are the result of both original human nature and personal endeavor. So if someone acquired qualities and the one who didn't, even care to do it, you cannot put them together. That's why one of the injustice is to give someone a position, that he's not qualified for it. It's an injustice. Someone who's leading who doesn't have the qualification to lead because he doesn't have the knowledge. How can someone, for example, be in a position of ijtihad, of fatwa, when he doesn't have the knowledge? That's actually the injustice. That's when the Prophet ﷺ talking about the signs of the Day of Judgment, when a-Ruwaybida, the one who doesn't have deen, who doesn't have knowledge, and he's the one who's leading people, and he give them decision that is going to commit and engage a whole society. It will be heard for someone who doesn't have the fundamental knowledge of decision and of wisdom. So I cannot make equality here. He's saying here in the second paragraph, thus a person who he is knowledgeable cannot be regarded in the same way as someone who is not, in all matters in which difference of intellectual perception and comprehension is decisive. Examples of this inequality include the capacity of interpretation the Sharia and to comprehend those aspects of it that are the subject of subtle derivation and reasoning. And then in the end of the paragraph he says, that is why priority is given to those who have attained the level of ijtihad over those who have not in the eligibility to assume judgeship, thus preventing their equality. So to make someone become like qadi and has the position of a jurist and have a position of fatwa, he needs to have that level, not anyone. And then you give the priority who has more knowledge, which is obvious. No one can be, defending and be a lawyer unless he has a degree and been accepted by the body of lawyers that he really has the requirement of being a lawyer or of being a judge. So this is a fact, this is a reality. The legal impediment, which is the Shari'i element that prevent the equality, also depends on certain circumstances. It might be something related to the natural disposition, something that is hidden, but for us, as a follower of the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ, our reference is the Sharia, because it's a revelation. For example, he given us one of the usul and the basic rights, fundamental rights to protect into the community, into a society, is to protect the progeny, is to protect, the nasab. And the progeny is someone to know this person, he's belongs to which family, who is his father, what his name. Based on this protection of this fundamental right in the society, one of its results is that you cannot make equality between the man and woman in their marriage. For example, if the man is allowed to have more than one wife, the woman cannot. Because if she will, then you're going to hurt and corrupt one of the basic fundamental principles, which is to protect the progeny, to protect the nasab. That's why Islam, when it came, facts like, certain relation in the ignorance, in Jahiliyyah, that a woman can have a relationship with whoever, and then when there is a child, they will bring everyone who has a relation with her. And she point to any one of them, she says, this is the father, for example. And such a thing is not accepted, and it will not lead to a society that will be protecting values, virtues, integrity, etc., etc. So having the equality here, it will lead to corruption, lead to harming the whole society, etc. And this is one of the reasons, because there's a lot of other element and aspect that the Sharia considered for the benefit and for the goodness of the whole society. In Islamic society, I'm talking about Islamic society, that implement the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إذ لو أبيح للمرأة, as he's saying here. Okay. قال, these legislative rules are based on the Sharia fundamental universal, such as the protection of lineage, preventing the equality of men and women concerning the polygamy. If polyandry were allowed, men and women, the safeguarding of lineage could not be achieved. This principle can also be known by inference from the particulars of the Sharia, such as the requirement of the testimony of two women, specifically in financial and commercial matters. So when we say, for example, we have in the Shahada, in the witnessing, two women and one man, it doesn't mean like here we don't have equality. The fundamental of equality exists, but in certain these special circumstances, where the woman is far from the circuit of the finance, because when we're talking about those generation, what is being dealing and transaction in the general is done within the field of the contract of businesses, while the woman, she has different, task and everything. So when it comes to witnesses, he said, if you don't have the second one, so the two women, not because two equal to one, no, two women in this type of transaction and this type of field, it's not their concern. So when they witness, they might, later on, it is not their field, forget. So the other one said, yes, I remember this is what happened. But for the one who is counting money and dealing with the business, he's more likely to be very accurate and remember such transaction. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it in the financial field, in the contract in Surah Al-Baqarah. While we have the hadith, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to, for example, deeds and reward and action and worship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said male or female, so they are equal. It's come, for example, in certain facts into the family, the woman, she have a stronger memory about everything that happened as a memory for the children and things, or maybe other field where the woman are more engaged than the man, she has better memory than the man. So this is also to not fall into the trap of certain people whose some of these ayat to say that the Islam have the inequality. No, this inequality not in the fundamental of the principle, inequality related to certain circumstances in this field of finance for these particular circumstances. Well, as he's saying it here, in financial and commercial matters. The social ones, if you have any question, please do. We're trying to finish this chapter, inshallah. قال المصالح الاجتماعية, but الموانع الاجتماعية, the impediments that are related to a social condition or circumstances. This is based on what lead to the benefit of the whole society. Like things like, like from an intellectual point of view, from even a meaning point of view, you cannot make equality between the knowledgeable person and the ignorant. So this is based on the ijtihad. So there's any equality when implemented lead to a violation, lead to unfairness, lead to injustice. So this is not equality, should not be implemented. Then there is preventing equality for political consideration. you can, have non-implement equality for certain categories. So it depends on the political consideration, that because you might implement certain equality between certain categories, certain position, one is going to lead to harm the whole nation, for certain things. قال وهذا النوع من الموانع يكثر فيه اعتبار التوقيت. This type of political depends on the time. Sometimes the nation is going through a difficult time or political problem, so that's where equality might lead to corruption, and equality in certain circumstances. But the fundamental equality between people, between race, between color, things that is embedded in the Sharia. We're talking about impediment or things that prevent, when the equality, like the most obvious one, you cannot have equality between a alim, a scholar, and someone who's not. You cannot make the equality for someone who's a doctor, and even you cannot make equality between a doctor in a special field and the other one is different field. For that field, they give the priority for the one who's expert in his field. So this is equality, the chapter of the equality. Then قال ومثال المؤقت منه قول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم الفتح من دخل دار أبي سفيان فهو آمن. And there's equality. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, for example, for things like is very related to time and temporary. Like he said, whoever who entered the house of Abu Sufyan, he's safe. So does it mean like, Abu Sufyan only he want to be safe to enter the house of Abu Sufyan? This is temporary. But he's being given a grant for, as he accepted Islam, and Abu Sufyan, he's just accepted Islam, he wants to be his name to be mentioned. So the Prophet ﷺ grant him this favor to hold his heart to Islam. طيب, any question? We'll stop here بإذن الله to stop in next chapter next time. Freedom in Sharia. That's what you have, right? Freedom in Sharia. I'm sorry? Natural disposition is, for example, what is part of the instinct, the natural ability. For example, men and women, they are totally different in their nature. Man is not like women, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. So there's abilities that the woman has, the man doesn't have, an ability that the man has that the woman doesn't have for their nature, from their even way how they're being created. That's the one that we're talking about. So, for example, when he mentioned, for example, Hadana, who going to have the custody and the taking care of the children at a certain age when they're young. We cannot make equality. You cannot, the man, he said, no, this is, we have to have. He said, no, that's here, what is the best for the child. The natural disposition of the woman is better here. It has that, fulfillment for the child more than the man. So we cannot have equality here. Like the equality cannot be implemented in the Islamic, when we talk here about, we're talking about the the majority of the cases. We're not going to say, oh, there's a woman, she did this, and they said that, you know, minor cases or like single cases cannot be the way to measure the whole, to make it a general and universal. So, for example, here when he said, the scholar, they say, the majority of the scholar, in the most common cases, you cannot have the woman to be leading an army. Because her nature, subhanallah, it's not to fight. It's not to have to be in that field. But doesn't mean that it's forbidden for her to be in that field. Like Nusayba, the Sahabiya, she was defending the Prophet ﷺ with her sword in Uhud. So that's the natural disposition. What is the common known in someone's nature? For example, we cannot have the equality between men and women in providing for the family. So we cannot obligate on the woman to provide for her family, because this is an equality who going to burden her. When the man, the obligation, he has like an obligation to provide for his family. So this hukum is based on the natural disposition. The man is more known to, all throughout generation and history, that able to go and work and travel and do all these things and face hardship just to bring, you know, the provision. That's the example. طيب, I think we're missing like few chapters that are not translated in the book. So I will go do the summary. So because freedom, we have, just to let you know, chapter is named ليست الشريعة بنكاية. The Sharia is not an annoyance, is not nikaya like to hurt or to be hardship, or a nikaya like, you know, against rahmah. So the Sharia came to shower you with the rahmah. Another chapter, the next chapter, مقصد الشريعة من التشريع تغيير وتقرير. What is the main intent of the Sharia? Is to change and confirm things, make them firm in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نوط الأحكام الشرعية بمعان وأوصاف لا بأسماء وأشكال. The wisdom of the Sharia and what the Sharia is looking for as in the laws. When you look at the law, you don't look at the names like equality. So we want to make the content of the equality, the impact of the equality. If the impact of inequality in certain circumstances is going to lead to injustice, so that's not equality. So the Sharia doesn't implement the law based on the name. They implement the law based on the content of the wisdom. Yeah? ولا أشكال, not on the form, but about the meanings. أحكام الشريعة قابلة للقياس. The Sharia laws is it is there to have analogies and to measure over their laws. Then التحيل, then there's سد الذرائع ونوط التشريع بالضبط والتحديد ونفوذ التشريع واحترامه والرخصة, the permission, ومراتب الوازع, and then comes the chapter of Al-Hurriya. So we might take a break from the book, so to go through this chapter in brief بإذن ta'ala, to get benefit of the whole book, and then resume with the chapter of the Hurriya, maybe for a reason that the author missed these parts, or Wallahu A'lam, I don't have any ideas, inshallah. Or maybe to be like only kind of notes, and then they add it to the book, but we'll go through them because there's a lot of beautiful things that we'll be studying or learning throughout these few chapters, inshallah. Any questions? طيب, give you a few minutes and we start the next class, inshallah. And we'll finish our class at 9, inshallah. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. التحفة العراقية في أعمال القلوب لمصنفها شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى. The difference between القضاء الكوني والقضاء الشرعي والإرادة الكونية والإرادة الشرعية, as we mentioned in the few classes before, that the universal destiny and the Shari'i destiny, the destiny that is beyond a human being or the human to get involved in it or to have effect on it, and the destiny that someone will be facing based on his own choice. Now, the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, after mention the difference between them, so you have an irada, you have a will, you have a want, you decide, you choose, you plan. But your decision and your plan and your projection is based or within the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot do something which is not in the will of Allah or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we said, everything or every worship you do is being granted to you by Allah, and every sin that we do is by the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the facts that we said that is from universal, no one can defeat death, defy death. No one, for example, can stop not eating and he say, you know, I'm going not to eat to defeat this structure of mine to survive. That's not possible. So those universal, those things that is outside of our control. But driving to the masjid or not, you wake up in the morning at any hour, this is up to you. You know, studying or not studying, praying or not praying, following Islam or not, this is up to you. But whatever you choose is going to result on your choice, a whole destiny that you made for yourself. But in this choice, that someone need to be mindful of certain element that the author he's sharing with us. For example, when we say, I trust in Allah, do I trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I have believed that Allah has power over all things? But I cannot jump from 10th floor and I say, I trust in Allah that He's going to save me. So when someone comes and dies and comes in the day of judgment, said, yeah, Allah had trust in you. They said, no, but you killed yourself. So this one will be considered as a shaheed or someone who killed himself or suicide. So that's the author what he's, you know, because there is some sect in Islam, they do out of the trust, you know, a way of deviation. Why? Because they lack the understanding of such element in the Sharia and into the suluk and the behavior. He's saying here in the last paragraph in page 29. قال والمقصود هنا First قال ومن المعلوم أن هذا هو الكون الذي لا يخرج منه شيء عن مشيئته وتكوينه وأما الكلمات الدينية فقد خالفها الكفار بمعصيته. This is almost what I have just said. والمقصود هنا أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بين أن العواقب التي خلق لها الناس من سعادة وشقاوة ييسرون بالأعمال التي يصيرون بها إلى ذلك. That everyone abode of happiness, joy, or والعياذ بالله to be from the loser is based on the action that you do that lead you to such a thing. Allah knows where you're gonna get. But is your action who going to lead you? Is based on your own choice. As all the creation around us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the babies in the wombs based on what a nature that Allah put among the human being, which is to have, a couple, the husband, the mother, and the father, they come together for this creation to happen. ثم فلو قال إنسان, if a person comes and say, I trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I will not have any intimate relation with my wife, or I will not even get married. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's say, قال ولا أطأ زوجتي, I will not touch I will not get to, will be separate, have a separate life, me and my wife. And he said, فإن كان قد قضي لي بولد وجد. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed for me to have a child, he gonna happen. وإلا لم يوجد. If not, he not gonna exist. And I don't have any need or I should not do any relation, like intimate relation. يقول المصنف كان أحمق. This person, he is an idiot if he says such a thing. But if someone will have the intimate relation, but he tried to prevent the pregnancy, as they do, this is you cannot, because that's the qadr Allah. If the relation happen, then thus it becomes in the destiny of Allah, as he given an example of al-azl, and without getting into detail of that, anyone who get in relation trying to prevent pregnancy from the side of the man with the way that they used to do, or from the side of the women, the Prophet ﷺ قال فإن الله قد كتب ما هو خالق إلى يوم القيامة. Allah had already decreed what is going to be created to the day of judgment, and whoever who want to do that prevention, it might work, it might not work, but what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have destined is going to happen. But for someone to not do, and knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to create without any coming together of both the mother and the father. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He already created, خلق Adam, He created Adam from clay, no parents. And He created Hawa from Adam, from part of Adam, from his rib. And He created Isa from a mother without a father. But this is done with the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will. But Allah will for the rest of the humankind to have, creation of children of, human through the action of being together. This is to tell us that some of those who zanadiqa, and they call them, masters and wise and big shuyukh, he will follow, let themselves surrender to the decree, to the predestination, without making this distinction that we are talking about. So for certain people say, we believe that Allah had the power to create without having, for example, having father or having a mother. So my trust will make this child to exist. And that, of course, against the way of the Sharia. So such people who think like that, they are in the path of the deviation. And this is just an example, there's other things. قال ويجعل ذلك من باب التفويض والتوكل, and he made that from the way of the surrender to Allah and trust fully to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. والجري مع الحقيقة القدرية ويحسب أن قول القائل ينبغي للعبد أن يكون مع الله كالميت بين يدي الغاسل يتضمن ترك العمل بالأمر والنهي. And he thinking, this heedless person, that what he heard, that every servant need to be with Allah like the dead body in the hand of the one who washing him. And this is true. This is what we say, the contentment. to accept and be pleased with the decree of Allah, as the example that the scholar they give, you will not say to a dead body, a dead person, he will not say to the one who washing him, you missed part in my bag, can you please wash it? So he can move it the way he wants. That's how someone needs to be surrendered to the destiny of Allah. But it doesn't mean that you cease to act. If you want good grades, if you want good job, if you want success, you have to work. Those who believe in Allah's power and they fully surrender to it with ignorance, that is a deviation from the path. That's not trust. And unfortunately, if the author rahimahullah mentioned this, because there are sects who build their way based on this type of belief. Based on this type of belief. قال, when they follow such a thing, the belief into respecting the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of wear out, then it disappears. Then when they are fully surrendered to Allah, they think they are in very high level. When they commit sins, for them it's nothing, because they reach a level of a trust that no one can equal them to that level. That's why some of this sect, they believe when they feel that they get to this level, they should not even pray. And it happened as people, they write books about that. قال وحتى يضعف عنده النور والفرقان الذي يفرق بين ما أمر الله به وأحبه ورضيه وبين ما نهى عنه وأبغضه وسخطه. Till they lose that criterion between the good and the bad, between what Allah ordered, what Allah loves, and what Allah prohibited, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala disliked. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال أم حسب الذين اجترحوا السيئات أن نجعلهم كالذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات سواء محياهم ومماتهم ساء ما يحكمون. Are those who committing sins, they think that we're going to deal with them as those who do righteousness, they believe and do righteousness. This is very far. This will not happen. قال ساء ما يحكمون. This is the worst of their judgment, of their thinking. Because thinking such a thing is really as an ill thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَفَنَجْعَلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ كَالْمُجْرِمِينَ. Are we going to make those who surrender to Allah, those Muslims, like those criminals, those who are wrongdoers? This is مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. So people, they engage themselves and they believe whatever they want to believe by making the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They define it the way they want, and then they want to be like called masters and the foremost in the way of the deen. That's not true. قال in the page 31 قال حتى يفضي الأمر بغلاتهم إلى عدم التمييز بين الأمر بالمأمور الإلهي النبوي الفرقاني الديني الشرعي الذي دل عليه الكتاب والسنة وبين ما يكون في الوجود من الأحوال التي تجري على أيدي الكفار والفجار فيشهدون وجه الجمع من جهة كون الجميع بقضاء الله وقدره. So they really lose facts, and they lose the fact to make the difference between what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered and what things are happening for people who even don't believe in Allah do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they mix all together to be like part of the destiny of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال والمؤمنين وأهل الطاعة الذين أطاعوا أمره وأهل معصية الذين عصوا هذا الأمر ويستشهدون في ذلك بكلمات مجملة نقلت عن بعض الأشياخ أو ببعض غلطات بعضهم. To the point, the author, he's leading us to also think of those who really fully deviated to the point that they're saying, Fir'aun la'anahu Allah, Allah is going to forgive him because it was what happened to him is out of the destiny, it wasn't his choice. Allahu Akbar. لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب الدعوة المستقيمة قامت محمد. Do you have any question? Few minutes and I'll let you go إن شاء الله. قال وهذا أصل عظيم من أعظم ما يجب الاعتناء به على أهل طريق الله السالكين سبيل الإرادة. And this, as he said, is a great fundamental, is one of the most important principles in the way those who are traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To cleanse and purify and understand deeply the meaning of al-irada. Al-irada is your path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how need to be defined. You are seeking a question, ask, what are you seeking? If you are seeking the pleasure of Allah, therefore someone need to follow the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ and not to follow whims. And whims here, we're talking about people who think that they are very rooted in the way of the journeying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال إرادة الذين يريدون وجهه فإنه قد دخل بسبب إهمال ذلك على طوائف منهم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان. Because of neglecting such understanding that we mentioned, the difference between when you trust in Allah, when you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the whole power, but there's ways how to work, how to trust, how to surrender. If you want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it help you, help your family, there's an action that you do. The very basic way to present it. If you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you succeed, you don't make, you surrender and you make dua and you wait. You act, and you act, and you act to the limit of your effort, invoking Allah's help, and then you make the dua for Allah to help you succeed. But if someone from the beginning is surrendered and he wants everything to happen, that subhanAllah, even seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leads to deviation, leads to even, kufr, denial in the way of the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why he's gonna give us an example. We'll do it next time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, of people who, because of they appreciate people who's like ruler, you know. But these rulers are transgressors. But they look at them in a way that they are, you know, they might give, you know, benefit to people. So they put them at high esteem. And subhanAllah, that's why many of the deviated sect, they will be helping the transgressor rulers. Why? Because of their own understanding or wrong understanding of the meaning of al-wulad, or al-muwalat, or al-wilayah. Those are very crooked and deviated, subhanAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from such wrong path and from wrong understanding, and keep us to understand the true value of the guidance and the real meaning of the value of the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'll finish with one question, you know, just to help everyone be on the same page that I'm talking about. If someone will ask you, what is the best for a person traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fulfill the obedience the way Allah ask, that's how you feel yourself getting higher in the rank of the closeness to Allah, or you wish for yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes something happen abnormal in your hand. So we say, what is better? To come, for example, within 1 year, example, to feel closer to Allah by multiplying the number of your rak'ah a day with ease and with very relaxed, you know, way, because sometimes someone has, but he feel like there's, subhanallah, feeling that you want to pray more, and that's a gift from Allah. Or to say, one of the signs that I believe that I'm closer to Allah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help me, for example, to see things, signs, like miracles, what we call them karamat. Which one you choose? And which one you feel make you closer to Allah? You've been working and making dua and very close to Allah. Tomorrow you find yourself, instead of crossing the lake, go around it, you can walk on the water. That make you happy and feel closer to Allah, or the fact to have more devotion and concentration in your prayer? Which one? I just let you reflect. Because there's a sect, for them, one of them is how, that's how they determine the foremost people, the greatest people of our ummah in their relation with Allah. And this is what Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he's sharing with us to teach us how to, what the thing that we need to appreciate in our travel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People, they worship Allah to be rich. So if they're not rich, they feel like they're not close enough. For give you example. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم, and we'll see you inshallah next time. جزاكم الله.